The morning started like any other Tuesday in Seoul. People rushed to work. Students complained about homework. Coffee shops filled with tired faces. Nobody knew that in exactly 3 hours, everything would change forever. Commander Yuna sat in her small office at the Korean Defense Ministry. She was 42 years old, with short black hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. On her desk sat a cold cup of coffee and a stack of reports she did not want to read. The morning felt slow and boring. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from her old friend Minho, now a general stationed in Bizen. "Lunch today?" the message read. She typed back a quick yes and returned to her paperwork. At exactly 9:47 a.m. Every screen in the world went dark. Television channels stopped. Phone screens turned black. Computer monitors flickered and died. For 30 seconds, 7 billion people stared at blank screens in confusion. Then the message appeared. A face filled every screen on Earth. It was not human. The creature had gray skin, 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and a mouth that seemed too wide for its narrow face. Behind it, Yuna could see what looked like the inside of a ship. Metal walls, strange lights, and other creatures moving in the background. "People of Earth," the creature spoke. Its voice was deep and cold, translated somehow into every language at once. "I am High Commander Vorak of the Valkyrie Empire. Your planet has been selected for conquest. You have 24 hours to surrender completely. If you do not, we will destroy your cities one by one until nothing remains." The screen showed an image of space. A massive ship hung above Earth, black and angular, covered in weapons that glowed with purple light. Around it floated hundreds of smaller ships, each one bigger than any aircraft carrier humans had ever built. "We have studied your species," Vorak continued. "We know your weapons. We know your defenses. They are nothing to us. We have conquered 63 worlds. Earth will be 64. Surrender now, and some of you will be allowed to live as servants. Resist, and you will all die. You have 24 hours. Choose wisely." The screens went back to normal. For a moment, silence covered the world like a blanket. Then the chaos began. Yuna watched the broadcast 3 times on her office computer. She studied the alien's face, the ship behind it, the confidence in its 4 eyes. Then she did something that would have surprised most people. She laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not a scared laugh. A real, genuine laugh that came from deep in her belly. She laughed so hard that tears formed in the corners of her eyes. Her assistant, a young man named Taiwu, burst through her door. His face was pale with fear. "Commander, did you see? The aliens. They're going to destroy us. What do we do?" Yuna wiped her eyes and took a deep breath. "Taiwu, calm down. Get me General Minho on the line, and bring me fresh coffee. It's going to be a long day." "But, Commander, shouldn't we evacuate? Shouldn't we panic?" "Panic?" Yuna raised an eyebrow. "Why would we panic? They gave us 24 hours. That's very generous of them." Taiwu stared at her like she had lost her mind. Perhaps she had. But Yuna had spent 20 years studying threats to her country: natural disasters, enemy nations, economic collapse. She had learned one important lesson. Panic helped no one. Besides, something about this alien invasion felt wrong to her. Not wrong in a bad way, wrong in a strange way. Like a puzzle piece that did not quite fit. Across the city, Minho was having a similar reaction. He stood in the Bizen Military Command Center, surrounded by officers shouting in the phones and staring at screens showing the alien ships. Everyone was scared. Everyone except Minho. He was 60 years old, with gray hair and a face full of wrinkles from decades of smiling. He had fought in conflicts around the world. He had faced death many times. And right now, watching his officers run around like frightened chickens, he felt only one thing: amusement. "Everyone stop," he said calmly. His voice was not loud, but something in it made everyone freeze. Sit down. Breathe. Think. A young captain named Sujin spoke up. General, the Americans are mobilizing. The Chinese are mobilizing. Everyone is preparing for war. What are our orders? Our orders are to stay calm and wait, Minho said. These aliens have made a mistake. A mistake, sir? They announced themselves. They gave us a deadline. They showed us their ships. Minho walked to the window and looked out at the ocean. If I wanted to conquer a planet, I would not give them time to prepare. I would strike fast and hard. But these aliens, they want to scare us into surrendering. That means they're either very confident or very stupid. Which do you think they are, sir? Minho smiled. I think they don't know humans very well. Around the world, governments scrambled to respond. The United Nations called an emergency meeting. Presidents and prime ministers gave speeches telling people to stay calm, while obviously not being calm themselves. Military forces went to high alert. Missiles were armed. Fighter jets took to the sky. But something strange was happening on the internet. Hana was 19 years old and a university student in Daegu. She was also one of the most popular content creators in Korea, known for her funny videos and sharp wit. When the alien broadcast ended, she did what she always did when something big happened. She made a meme within minutes. Her image of the alien commander with a speech bubble saying, "We've been trying to reach you about your planet's extended warranty," had been shared 1,000,000 times. She followed it with another. The alien ship photoshopped next to a traffic sign that read, "No parking violators will be conquered." Comments flooded in from around the world. Instead of fear, people responded with jokes. Dark humor, silly humor, angry humor, but humor nonetheless. Aliens, we've conquered 63 worlds. Humans, cool. But have you tried our spicy food? They want us to surrender in 24 hours. My Wi-Fi takes longer than that to connect. These aliens really picked the planet that invented nuclear weapons, survived 2 world wars, and made reality TV shows about dating. Good luck. The aliens, it turned out, were monitoring Earth's communications. High Commander Vorak sat on his command throne, watching translations of human social media scroll across his screen. His 4 eyes blinked in confusion. What is? Meme? He asked his advisor, a thin creature named Kelver. It appears to be a form of communication, High Commander. The humans are sharing humorous images about our invasion. Humorous? They find us. Funny? It seems so, High Commander. Vorax. Wide mouth twisted into something that might have been a frown. In all his years of conquest, he had seen many reactions from species facing extinction. He had seen fear. He had seen despair. He had seen desperate attempts at negotiation. He had never seen this. Perhaps they do not understand the threat, Vorak said. Perhaps, Kelver agreed, though he did not sound convinced. Back in Seoul, Yuna had finally gotten Minho on a video call. They had known each other for 30 years, since their days as young officers. They trusted each other completely. You saw the broadcast, Yuna said. I saw it. What do you think? I think these aliens are either geniuses playing a complicated game, or they made a terrible mistake choosing Earth. Minho nodded. My thoughts exactly. Have you noticed their ships? Yuna pulled up the images on her second monitor. Big, scary looking. Lots of weapons. Look closer. At the energy signatures. She squinted at the data. Military satellites had been scanning the alien vessels nonstop since their arrival. The readings were strange, but not impossible to understand. They're using some kind of fusion reactor. Advanced, but not magic. Exactly. Advanced, but not magic. Their weapons are powerful, but they follow physics. They can be understood. And anything that can be understood can be defeated, Yuna finished. They shared a smile. It was the smile of two old soldiers who had faced impossible odds before and survived. "So, what's our move?" Minho asked. "First, we don't panic. Second, we gather information. Third, we coordinate with the other nations. And fourth, Yuna paused to take a sip of her fresh coffee. We let the aliens think we're scared, while we're actually preparing the biggest surprise of their lives." In homes across the world, ordinary people were having similar conversations. Fear was present, certainly. The alien ships were real. The threat was real. But humans had a strange talent for finding humor in darkness. A grandmother in Bizen looked at the alien broadcast and said to her grandson, "They think they're scary? They should have seen my mother-in-law." A taxi driver in Seoul told his passenger, "Aliens invading? Good. Maybe traffic will finally clear up." A group of office workers gathered around the television, watching experts debate what to do. One worker, a woman named Yoonji, quietly began calculating energy frequencies on her phone, while her co-workers argued about whether to run or hide. And in a coffee shop near the university, a young comedian named Jisoo started writing jokes. Not because he wasn't scared, he was terrified, but because making people laugh was the only thing he knew how to do in a crisis. And something told him the world needed to laugh right now. The first hour after the ultimatum ended. 23 hours remained. Commander Vorak studied his screens with growing frustration. His psychological warfare experts had predicted terror, chaos, and swift surrender. Instead, Earth's communications were filled with jokes, defiant messages, and something called alien invasion bingo cards. "They're not taking us seriously," Vorak growled. "Perhaps we should destroy a city to demonstrate our power." By hour 3 of the ultimatum, the internet had completely lost its mind, but not in the way anyone expected. Hana sat in her tiny apartment bedroom, her computer surrounded by empty energy drink cans and snack wrappers. She had not slept since the alien broadcast. She had been too busy. In 3 hours, she had created 47 memes, 12 short videos, and one song parody that compared the alien commander to an angry customer at a convenience store. Her followers had gone from 2 million to 8 million. Her notifications would not stop buzzing. "This is insane," she muttered to herself, refreshing her page again. Her latest creation, a video of the alien ship with circus, music playing over it, had been shared 3 million times in 1 hour. Her roommate Minji burst through the door. "Hannah, are you seriously making jokes?" "We might die tomorrow." "We might die tomorrow," Hana agreed, not looking away from her screen. "So I might as well spend today making people laugh." "That's actually a good point. Plus, look at this." Hana pointed to her comments section. Messages from around the world scrolled past in dozens of languages. English, Spanish, Arabic, Japanese, French, all saying variations of the same thing. "Thank you for making me smile. I was so scared until I saw this. My children are laughing instead of crying." Minji read the messages in silence. Then she sat down next to Hannah. "What can I do to help?" In Bizen, comedian Jizu had started a live stream. He sat in his small comedy club, completely alone except for his camera and his fear. But the viewers, over 5 million of them, now saw only confidence and humor. "So these aliens travel across the galaxy," Jisu said, leaning into the microphone, past countless stars, through the void of space, just to find Earth and say, "Surrender or die." Do you know what that is? That's the universe's worst Tinder match. They crossed 1,000 light years, and their opening line is a threat? No wonder their planet is lonely. The chat exploded with laughing emojis and hearts. And they gave us 24 hours. 24 hours! In Korea, that's not even enough time to decide where to eat dinner. Where should we eat? I don't know. You pick. No, you pick. 3 hours later, we're still deciding. These aliens don't understand Korean time. He paused to read a comment. Someone asks, what if they're watching this? Good question. Jiju looked directly into the camera and switched to exaggerated English. Hello, alien friends. Welcome to Earth. Please enjoy your stay. Our planet has many wonderful things. Beautiful mountains, delicious food, and 7 billion people who are absolutely crazy. You picked the wrong planet, my friends. We've survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and K-pop fan arguments. You think you scare us? In living rooms, offices, and shelters around the world, people watched Jiju and laughed. They shared his stream with friends and family. They translated his jokes into their own languages. For a few minutes at a time, they forgot to be afraid. High Commander Varak was not laughing. He sat in his command chamber, watching a translation of Jisu's live stream on one screen while monitoring Earth's military movements on another. His 4 eyes kept twitching, a sign of stress that his subordinates knew to avoid mentioning. Explain this to me, Varak demanded. We threaten their extinction, and they respond with comedy performances? Kelver stood nearby, his thin fingers dancing over a datapad. Our psychological profiles suggested humans would react with fear and submission. Clearly, the profiles were incomplete. Incomplete? They're worthless. Vorak slammed his fist against his throne. Every species we've conquered broke within the first hour. They begged for mercy. They fought among themselves. They betrayed each other for the chance to survive. These humans, they're making entertainment about their own destruction. Perhaps it's a coping mechanism, High Commander. Or perhaps they're more dangerous than we thought. Vorak pulled up more data. Earth's military forces were mobilizing, yes, but their movements seemed defensive rather than aggressive. No missiles had been launched. No attacks had been attempted. The humans were gathering, organizing, preparing, but for what? And everywhere, always, there were the jokes. A news channel showed. Someone had projected a massive meme onto the side of a building in Tokyo. The image showed the alien ship with a flying ship with a parking boot attached to it. A radio station in America was playing a song someone had written overnight. Aliens at the door, but I haven't finished my coffee. Yet, a children's television show in Brazil had created a puppet version of Commander Vorak, who was afraid of vegetables. This is psychological warfare. Kelver said quietly. What? The humans. They're using humor as a weapon. By refusing to take us seriously, they're undermining our authority. Every joke shared, every meme created, every laugh it tells their population that they don't need to be afraid. They're building morale while we wait. Vorak considered this. In 63 conquests, he had never encountered such a strategy. The Velkari used fear as a tool. They showed their power, made their threats, and let terror do the work of breaking enemy spirits. But what happened when terror didn't work? Should we attack now? A weapons officer asked. Destroy one of their cities to remind them of the consequences? No. Varak made his decision. We wait. They are clever, these humans. But cleverness won't stop our weapons. When the deadline arrives, we will show them that jokes cannot save them. But deep in his mind, a small doubt had begun to grow. Back on Earth, the memes were only part of the story. Behind the jokes and the laughter, serious people were doing serious work. They just did it with smiles on their faces. General Minho had set up a command center in an underground bunker. Around him, officers from 12 different countries worked together, sharing information in real time. The political tensions that usually divided nations had disappeared overnight. Faced with a common enemy, humanity had done something rare. It had united. The American satellites have finished their scans, announced Colonel Do-yoon, a sharp-minded officer in his early 40s. He pulled up the data on a large screen. The alien mothership is definitely using fusion power. Advanced fusion, but fusion. It follows the same basic physics as our own experimental reactors. Weaknesses? Minho asked. Potentially. Their power distribution seems centralized. If we could disrupt the main reactor, the whole ship would lose power. The problem is getting close enough to do that. A British General Ming Thompson spoke up through video link. Our physicists are working on an electromagnetic pulse bomb, powerful enough to disrupt electronics at range. The theory is sound, but we've never tested it against alien technology. Then we tested, Minho said simply. What else? Reports came in from around the world. Russian scientists had identified a frequency that seemed to interfere with alien communication signals. Chinese engineers were modifying satellites for potential countermeasures. Indian programmers were working on code to hack into the alien ship systems, a long shot, but worth trying. Everyone was contributing. Everyone was working together. And everyone, despite the fear, maintained a strange sense of optimism. You know what I love about this situation? Dao Yun said during a brief break. He was eating a sandwich and watching the live feed of Jisoo's comedy show on his phone. What's that? Minho asked. Yesterday, half the countries in this room were pointing weapons at each other. Today, we're working together to save the world. Maybe we needed aliens to remind us that we're all on the same team. Minho nodded slowly. Let's hope we survive long enough to remember that lesson. In her laboratory at the Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, Yoonji was not laughing. She was working. Yoonji was 35 years old, with messy hair from days without proper sleep and eyes red from staring at screens. She was one of the world's leading experts in electromagnetic radiation, and right now, she was trying to solve the biggest puzzle of her life. The energy signature, she muttered to herself, running simulation after simulation on her computer. Why is it so regular? Why is it so predictable? The alien ship's power systems pulsed with a steady rhythm. Most people saw this as a sign of advanced technology, perfectly controlled and impossibly precise. Yoonji saw something else. You're not advanced, she whispered to the alien image on her screen. You're lazy. The Valkyrie had conquered 63 worlds. 63 species had surrendered to their superior technology. And in all that time, they had never needed to improve their systems. Why fix something that wasn't broken? But that meant their technology had remained static, unchanging, predictable. And predictable could be exploited. Eung grabbed her phone and called Commander Yuna directly. Commander, this is Dr. Yoonji from KAIST. I think I found something important. Go ahead. The alien ship's power systems operate on a fixed frequency, 247.3 terahertz, repeating every 3.7 seconds. If we could generate a counter frequency at the right moment, we might be able to disrupt their entire energy network. There was silence on the line. Then Yuna spoke. Can you do it? I can try. I'll need resources, equipment, time. You have all three. I'm sending you everything you need. And Dr. Yoonji? Yes? Thank you for not just making memes. Yoonji smiled, the first smile she'd allowed herself in hours. I like the memes too. They're giving me something to work for. As the hours passed, Earth presented two faces to its would-be conquerors. The public face was all jokes and defiance. Social media platforms groaned under the weight of alien invasion content. Television shows interrupted their P-hour 14. 10 hours remained until the deadline. While the internet continued its campaign of humor and defiance, something else was happening in the shadows. Something quiet. Something deadly. Colonel Do Yoon stood in the center of the Global Defense Coordination Room, a name given to the bunker just 6 hours ago, when representatives from every major nation agreed to work together. The room buzzed with activity. Screens covered every wall, showing troop movements, satellite data, scientific calculations, and a constant stream of updates from around the world. Report from the physics team, an American officer announced. The EMP devices are ready. 12 units, distributed to strategic locations globally. Russian satellites have locked onto the target frequencies, added a Russian colonel through video link. We can jam their communications on your command. Chinese engineering confirms. Modified ground-based lasers operational. Not powerful enough to destroy the ships, but capable of blinding their sensors. Doju nodded at each report. 6 hours ago, this kind of cooperation would have been unthinkable. Countries that had spent decades threatening each other were now sharing their most secret military technologies. The alien invasion had accomplished something no diplomat ever had. It had made humanity realize how small their differences really were. What about Dr. Yunji's frequency disruption device? Do-Yun asked. She's still working on it. Yuna replied from her position at a nearby console. She says she needs more time, but she's close. How close? Close enough to try. She wants to test it at hour 18. Do-Hyun checked his watch. 4 hours until the test. 6 hours until the deadline. The timing would be tight, but it was possible. Tell her to keep working. And tell her the world is counting on her. In her laboratory, Yunji was barely aware that the world was counting on anything. Her entire universe had shrunk to the size of her computer screen and the complex device taking shape on her workbench. The frequency disruptor was based on a simple principle. Every energy system had a natural resonance. Hit that resonance at the right moment, and the system would shake itself apart. It was the same principle that let opera singer shatter glass, just on a much larger scale. The problem was precision. The alien ship's power systems cycled every 3.7 seconds. To disrupt them, Yunji needed to hit them with a counter frequency at exactly the right millisecond. Too early, and nothing would happen. Too late, and the signal would be absorbed harmlessly. 3.7 seconds, Yunji muttered, running another simulation. Why 3.7? Why not 3.5 or 4? What's special about 3.7? She had been asking herself this question for hours. And slowly, she was beginning to understand. 3.7 seconds was the rotation period of the Valkyrie home planet. The aliens had built their entire technology around the rhythms of their own world, a world they had left thousands of years ago. They had never changed it because they had never needed to. You're nostalgic, Yunji realized, staring at the alien ship data. You built your technology to remind you of home. You of home. That's almost sweet. But nostalgia was also a weakness. The Valkyrie power systems were perfectly tuned to a frequency that was now completely predictable. All Yunji had to do was build something that could exploit that prediction. Her phone buzzed. A message from her mother. Are you eating enough? Don't forget to take breaks. Love you. Yunji smiled and typed back, working on saving the world. We'll eat later. Love you too. Then she returned to her calculations. On the other side of the bunker, General Minho was having a very different kind of conversation. You want us to do what? The American president's face on the video screen looked confused. I want us to surrender, Minho repeated calmly. The room erupted. Voices shouted in a dozen languages. Officers jumped to their feet. For a moment, the carefully built international cooperation seemed ready to shatter. Quiet! Yuna's voice cut through the noise. Let him explain. Minho waited until the room settled. Then he pulled up a tactical display. We're not actually surrendering. We're pretending to surrender. At hour 23, we broadcast a message to the alien ship saying we accept their terms. We ask for a meeting to discuss the details of our surrender. This brings their leaders closer to Earth, into range of our weapons. And then? The British Prime Minister asked. And then we strike. All at once. EMPs, frequency disruptors, communication jammers, everything. We hit them with everything we have before they can react. That's deception. That's treachery. Minho smiled a cold smile, different from his usual warm expression. Yes, it is. The Valkyrie expect us to fight honorably, to face them with weapons they can see and understand. Instead, we'll trick them. We'll lie to them. We'll do whatever it takes to survive. He looked around the room at the faces from every nation, faces that had been enemies yesterday and were allies today. Humans have been deceiving each other for thousands of years. We've evolved tricks and strategies that no other species could imagine. The Valkyrie think they know us because they studied our technology. But technology isn't what makes us dangerous. Our minds are what make us dangerous. Our willingness to do whatever it takes to win. The room was silent. Does anyone object? Minho asked. No one did. Hi. Commander Vorak watched the clock counting down on his display. 10 hours remained. The humans had not surrendered. They had not even attempted to negotiate. Instead, they continued making jokes. The psychological toll was beginning to affect his crew. Valkyrie soldiers were trained to expect fear and submission from conquered species. The constant stream of mockery from Earth was unlike anything they had encountered. Morale was dropping. Questions were being whispered in corridors. What if the humans won't surrender even after we attack? What if they fight back? What if they're not as weak as we thought? Vorak refused to acknowledge these doubts publicly. But privately, in the silence of his command chamber, he felt them too. High Commander. Kelver approached with a datapad. We've detected unusual activity on Earth. Their military forces are moving into defensive positions around major cities. Their satellites are repositioning. And there's something else. What? A scientist, Dr. Yunji. She's been working on something for the past 12 hours without stopping. Our analysts believe she's developing some kind of countermeasure against our power systems. Vorak examined the data. A single human, working alone in a laboratory, trying to stop the might of the Valkyrie Empire. It should have been amusing. Instead, it made him uneasy. Can we stop her? We could destroy her laboratory from orbit. But that would mean breaking our own deadline. Our threat was that we would not attack until the 24 hours had passed. And if we break that threat, then the humans will know we can be pushed into impulsive actions. It would show weakness. Vorak ground his teeth. The humans had trapped him with his own words. If he attacked early, he would prove that the Valkyrie could be provoked. If he waited, he gave them more time to prepare. There was no good option. We wait, he decided finally. Let the scientist work on her device. It won't matter. Our ships are too powerful for any human technology to defeat. But even as he said the words, doubt gnawed at him. Hour 16. 8 hours remained. Across Earth, people were still awake. Coffee shops had run out of coffee. Energy drink companies were experiencing their best sales day in history. The entire planet seemed to be running on caffeine and determination. In homes and shelters, families gathered together. Some prayed. Some talked about memories. Some played games to pass the time. Almost all of them had phones or computers showing the endless stream of alien invasion content. Hana had finally stopped creating memes. She sat with Minji on their apartment balcony, watching the stars. Somewhere up there, alien ships waited to destroy everything she knew. Do you think we'll survive? Minji asked quietly. Hana considered the question. I think we have a chance. I don't know if we'll win, but I know we won't lose quietly. And that's enough for me. Enough? If we die tomorrow, at least we spent our last day being ourselves. Laughing, fighting, refusing to give up. That's worth something, isn't it? Minji leaned her head on Hana's shoulder. Yeah, I guess it is. In Bizen, Jizu had finally ended his marathon livestream. 20 hours of comedy, powered by coffee and fear, and the support of millions of viewers around the world. He was exhausted, but he felt something else too: pride. For 20 hours, he had made people laugh. He had given them something to hold on to during the darkest night of human history. It wasn't saving the world with weapons or science. But maybe, just maybe, it was saving the world in its own small way. His phone buzzed. A message from someone he didn't recognize. Thank you. My daughter was terrified until she saw your show. She went to bed laughing instead of crying. Whatever happens tomorrow, thank you. Jisoo read the message 3 times. Then he went to bed himself, smiling. In the Global Defense Coordination Room, the final preparations were coming together. EMP units in position, Do-hyun reported. Communication jammers ready. Dr. Yoonji says her frequency disruptor will be operational within 2 hours. And our surrender message? Minho asked. Prepared. We'll broadcast at hour 23, asking for a meeting at hour 20 to H. Hour 19. 5 hours remained until the deadline. The laughter stopped, not because people had lost hope, not because fear had finally won. The laughter stopped because it was time to work. The joke was over. The punchline was about to be delivered. Across Earth, millions of screens that had shown memes and comedy streams now showed a single message: Global Defense Initiative active. Please remain calm and follow local emergency procedures. In the Global Defense Coordination Room, the atmosphere had shifted. The collaborative energy remained, but it was sharper now, focused like a blade. All units report ready, Do-hyun announced. His voice was steady, but his hand shook slightly as he gripped the edge of his console. EMP systems charged. Communication jammers standing by. Dr. Yoonji's frequency disruptor is locked onto the target. Satellite positioning confirmed, added the American general. We have clear targeting solutions for all 12 alien vessels. Ground-based defenses ready, the Russian colonel reported. If any of them try to land troops, we'll make them regret it. Minho stood at the center of the room, watching the holographic display that showed Earth surrounded by enemy ships. The Volcari fleet hung in orbit like predators waiting to pounce. In 5 hours, they would attack, unless humanity struck first. Begin the deception, he ordered. Commander Yuna pressed a button on her console. A broadcast signal reached out toward the alien mothership, carrying humanity's fake surrender message. I, Commander Vorak, the message began. It was Yuna's voice, carefully made to sound defeated and fearful. This is Commander Yuna of the Earth Defense Coalition. After consulting with world leaders, we have decided to accept your terms. We surrender. We ask only that you meet with our representatives to discuss the details of our submission. Please respond with a location and time for this meeting. Earth awaits your answer. The message ended. The room was silent. Now we wait, Minho said, on the Volcari mothership. High Commander Vorak received the surrender message with a mixture of triumph and suspicion. They're giving up, Kelver said, reading the translation. Just as you predicted, High Commander. The threat of destruction has broken their spirit, has it? Vorak studied the message carefully. 19 hours ago, these humans were making jokes about us, mocking us, treating our invasion as entertainment. And now, suddenly, they surrender? Perhaps the reality of their situation has finally become clear to them. Or perhaps this is another trick. Vorak pulled up the data on human behavior during the past 19 hours. He saw the memes, the comedy shows, the songs of defiance. He saw the military preparations, the scientific research, the global coordination. None of it suggested a species ready to surrender. They're planning something, he said. What should we do, High Commander? Refuse the meeting? Vorak considered his options. If he refused, the humans might gain more time to prepare. If he accepted, he might be walking into a trap. Either way, he was dealing with an enemy unlike any he had faced before. Accept the meeting, he decided. But we will take precautions. Position our ships in attack formation. If this is a trap, we will spring it before they do. And the deadline? Remains in effect. If the meeting fails, we destroy their cities as promised. Vorak transmitted his response. The meeting would take place at hour 23, exactly 1 hour before the deadline. The location would be in orbit above Earth, on a small shuttle that would carry representatives from both sides. In the Global Defense Coordination Room. Cheers erupted as the alien response arrived. They accepted. Dong-Hyun pumped his fist in the air. They're moving into position. Don't celebrate yet, Yuna warned. This is just the beginning. Minho studied the alien fleet movements on the display. The ships were repositioning themselves, not for peace, but for war. Vorak was suspicious. That was expected. But he was also arrogant enough to believe that he could handle any trap the humans might set. That arrogance would be his downfall. Hour 23, Minho said. That's our window. At exactly hour 23, when their commanders are focused on the meeting, we strike. Every weapon, every device, everything at once. We get one chance. Just one. What about our representatives at the meeting? An Indian general asked. Whoever we send will be in the middle of the alien fleet when we attack. Minho nodded slowly. I know. That's why I'm going myself. The room exploded with protests. Officers from every nation argued that it was too dangerous, too risky, too likely to get him killed. Minho raised his hand for silence. This plan only works if the aliens believe our surrender is real. They'll expect our most senior commander at the meeting. If I don't go, they'll know something is wrong. But you'll die, Yuna said quietly. Maybe. Or maybe I'll find a way to survive. Either way, I'm not asking anyone else to take a risk I'm not willing to take myself. He looked around the room at the faces of his allies, people who had been strangers or enemies just 20 hours ago. Besides, he added with a faint smile, I've lived a good life. If it ends saving the planet, that's not a bad way to go. Hour 22. 2 hours remained. Minho boarded the small shuttle that would carry him to the meeting with the Volcari. It was a simple craft, unarmed, designed for diplomacy rather than combat. He carried no weapons, no communication devices, nothing that might make the aliens suspicious. In his pocket, he carried two things, a photograph of his daughter and a small timing device set to vibrate at exactly hour 23. When that device activated, he would have approximately 30 seconds to find cover before every weapon on Earth fired at the alien fleet. General Minho. Yuna's voice came through the shuttle's communicator. Are you sure about this? No, he admitted. But I'm doing it anyway. That's the human way, isn't it? I suppose it is. There was a pause. Whatever happens, it's been an honor serving with you. The honor was mine. Take care of things down there. And Yuna? Yes? When this is over, I expect a full report on all those memes. I heard some of them were quite funny. Despite everything, Yuna laughed. You'll get the complete collection. I promise. The shuttle launched, climbing through Earth's atmosphere toward the waiting alien fleet. On the surface, final preparations were underway. Dr. Yoonji sat in a command center surrounded by her equipment. The frequency disruptor was ready, connected to satellite uplinks that would broadcast its signal directly at the alien mothership. Her hands hovered over the activation controls. How are you feeling? Asked a young technician named Hyam, who had been assisting her for the past several hours. Terrified, Yoonji admitted. This device has never been tested on real alien technology. It works in simulation, but simulations aren't reality. For all I know, I've built a very expensive paperweight. But you believe it will work? Yoonji thought about everything she had learned in the past 20 hours. The alien technology was advanced, but predictable. Their power systems were elegant, but vulnerable. Everything she knew about physics told her that the frequency disruptor would work. Yes, she said. I believe it will work, and that's enough for me. Across the planet, similar scenes played out. EMP operators double-checked their systems. Satellite controllers confirmed their targeting data. Communication jammers prepared to cut off the alien fleet from its command structure. Everyone was ready. Everyone was waiting. Hour 23 arrived. Minho's shuttle approached the Valkyrie mothership. Through the viewport, he could see the massive vessel up close for the first time. Kilometers of dark metal, bristling with weapons, humming with power. It was terrifying and beautiful at the same time. A docking bay opened in the ship's side, swallowing the tiny shuttle like a whale consuming a minnow. Minho felt the craft settle onto an alien deck, surrounded by technology beyond human understanding. The airlock opened. Valkyrie soldiers waited outside, their weapons trained on the shuttle. Beyond them stood High Commander Vorak himself. "Welcome, human," Vorak said. His translator made the words sound almost pleasant. "I am pleased that your species has seen reason." Minho stepped out of the shuttle, his hands raised to show he carried no weapons. "High Commander, thank you for agreeing to this meeting. You are the leader of Earth's military forces? One of them. We have many nations, many leaders. But yes, I speak for humanity today." Vorak studied him with 4 suspicious eyes. "You seem calm for someone surrendering his planet. I've had time to accept the situation. Your ships are impressive. Your technology is beyond ours. Resistance would only lead to more death. A wise conclusion." Vorak began walking, gesturing for Minho to follow. Soldiers surrounded them, weapons ready. "Tell me, human, what was the purpose of all those jokes? The mocking images? The comedy performances?" Minho smiled. "We call it gallows humor. When humans face death, we often laugh. It helps us cope with fear. Strange. My people respond to fear with aggression, not laughter. Every species is different." They entered a large chamber, the Valkyrie Command Center. Screens covered the walls, showing views of Earth and the alien fleet. Minho noted the positions of everything: the consoles, the guards, the exits. He had maybe 30 seconds to find cover when the attack began. If there was any cover to find in his pocket, the timing device was counting down. 15 minutes until hour 23. 15 minutes until everything changed. "So," Vorak said, settling onto his command throne, "let us discuss the terms of your surrender." On Earth, Commander Yuno watched the clock with growing tension. All units confirm the attack came from everywhere at once. 12 EMP devices activated simultaneously, sending massive pulses of electromagnetic energy into the alien fleet. Communication. Jammers flooded every frequency, cutting the ships off from each other. And from orbit, satellites broadcast. Dr. Yoonji's frequency disruptor signaled directly at the mothership's power core. For 3.7 seconds, nothing seemed to happen. Then the Valkyrie mothership went dark. On the command deck, High Commander Vorak watched in horror as his screens flickered and died. The lights went out. The hum of the power systems faded to silence. Emergency backups kicked in, providing dim red lighting, but the main systems were gone. What is happening?" he demanded, spinning to face his crew. Officers stumbled through the darkness, shouting orders that no one could hear. "Our power systems," Kelver said, his voice shaking. "They've been disrupted. Some kind of interference signal. The main reactor is offline. Get it back online. We're trying, but the signal is continuous. As long as it's broadcasting, we can't restore power. Vorak turned to face Miho. The human general stood calmly in the chaos, still smiling that infuriating smile. You did this, Vorak growled. This was a trap. Yes, Minho agreed. It was. You said you were surrendering. I lied. Humans do that sometimes. Vorak raised his hand to strike the human, but before he could move, the ship lurched violently. Through the viewport, he could see something impossible. His fleet was drifting out of formation. Ships that had been locked in perfect position were now floating freely, their engines dead, their weapons cold. Report, Vorak screamed. Someone give me a report. The EMPs, an officer called out. They've disabled our secondary systems. Navigation, weapons, shields, everything that wasn't protected is offline. What is protected? Life support. Emergency communications. Nothing else. Vorak stared at the drifting fleet. In 63 conquests, nothing like this had ever happened. The Valkyrie had always been the ones with superior technology, superior weapons, superior power. Now they were helpless, their great ships reduced to floating coffins. And the human general was still smiling. On Earth, the Global Defense Coordination Room erupted in cheers. Direct hit on the mothership, Doyun shouted, pumping his fist. The power readings dropping across the fleet. Multiple vessels disabled. Added an American officer. They're losing formation. Communication jammers holding. They can't coordinate. Commander Yuna watched the screens with fierce satisfaction. Every hour of preparation, every sleepless night, every calculated risk, it was all paying off. The alien fleet that had seemed so invincible was now crippled, unable to attack, unable to defend, unable to do anything but drift. But she couldn't celebrate yet. Not while Minho was still on that ship. Can we contact the general? She asked. Negative. Our jammers are blocking their communications, but they're also blocking ours. Then we wait, and we hope. In homes across the planet, people who had been watching the sky in terror now watched in amazement. The alien ships, which had loomed so threateningly above Earth, were dark and powerless. Some were slowly tumbling, knocked off balance by the EMP impacts. Others were drifting toward each other, their pilots unable to steer. Hannah and Minji stood on their balcony, watching the lights in the sky. Are we winning? Minji asked in a whisper. I think so, Hana replied. I think we're actually winning. She pulled out her phone and started typing. If this was a victory, the world needed to know about it. And Hana knew exactly how to spread the word. On the Valkyrie mothership, chaos was turning to despair. Officers ran through the corridors, trying to restore systems that refused to respond. Soldiers stood at their posts with useless weapons. The great ship that had conquered 63 worlds was now a lifeless shell, held hostage by its own technology. In the command center, Vorak had stopped screaming. He sat on his throne in the dim emergency lighting, staring at nothing. Everything he had believed about the Valkyrie Empire, about his own invincibility, about the weakness of other species, all of it was crumbling. How? He asked quietly. How did they do this? Minho was still standing nearby, surrounded by guards who no longer had working weapons. He answered honestly. Your technology is advanced, High Commander, but it's old. You built it long ago and never changed it because you never needed to. You conquered species who couldn't fight back, so you never learned to adapt. And you? Your species has only had technology for a few centuries. Exactly. We're still learning, still changing, still figuring out what works and what doesn't. Every year, our technology gets better because we're constantly trying to improve. We're not perfect, far from it. But we're hungry, we're curious, and we never stop pushing. Vorak was silent for a long moment. Then he asked a question that surprised even himself. What happens now? That depends on you. On me? Minho walked toward the viewport, looking out at the drifting Valkyrie fleet. Your ships are disabled, but they're not destroyed. Your people are alive. If you choose to surrender, really surrender. Not the way I pretended to, we can work out a peaceful solution. Your fleet can leave. Your empire can find other paths. You would let us go? After everything? We're not interested in revenge, High Commander. We just want to survive. If you leave peacefully, we have no reason to destroy you. Vorak considered this. In his entire career, he had never been offered mercy by a conquered species. Then again, he had never been conquered before. And if I refuse, Minho turned to face him. Then we keep jamming your systems until your ships run out of air and your people suffocate. It would take weeks, and it would be a terrible way to die. But we'll do it if we have to. The cold certainty in the human's voice left no room for doubt. He meant every word. You humans are more ruthless than I expected. We're survivors, High Commander. We'll do whatever it takes. 2 hours later, emergency communications were restored on the mothership. Just enough for Vorak to contact Commander Yuna on Earth. She sat in the command center, surrounded by officers from every nation, facing the alien commander on the main screen. This time, the expressions were reversed. Vorak looked defeated, exhausted, broken. Yuna looked confident and calm. Commander Yuna, Vorak said, I am prepared to discuss terms. I thought you might be. She leaned forward slightly. Here are our conditions. First, you will withdraw your fleet from Earth's solar system immediately. Second, you will provide us with all information about the Valkyrie Empire, including the locations of other species you have conquered. Third, you will never return to Earth or any system we claim as protected. And in exchange, we won't destroy your fleet. Your people will live. You can return to your empire and tell them what happened here. Vorak's 4 eyes narrowed. You want me to spread the story of our defeat? To tell other species that humans beat the Valkyrie? Yes. Yes. Why? Yuna smiled, the same smile Minho had worn, the same smile she had worn when this all began. Because the next empire that thinks about invading Earth should know what they're dealing with. We're not easy prey. We're not a species that surrenders when threatened. We're the species that spent 18 hours laughing at your ultimatum and 6 hours preparing your defeat. She paused, letting the words sink in. Go home, High Commander. Tell your empire about Earth. Tell them about the planet that wouldn't surrender. Tell them about the species that fights back. The Valkyrie fleet departed 3 days later. Their ships, slowly repaired with limited power, limped out of Earth's solar system one by one. High Commander Vorak was the last to leave, his mothership trailing behind the others, a symbol of broken pride. Before he went, he sent one final message to Earth. You have made a powerful enemy today. The Valkyrie Empire will not forget this humiliation. Yuna responded, Good. Remember it well. And tell everyone you meet, Earth is not to be threatened. The message was broadcast on every channel on Earth. Millions of people watched as the last alien ship disappeared into the darkness of space. And then the celebrations began. In Seoul, Commander Yuna stood on a stage before a crowd of thousands. Beside her stood General Minho, who had been recovered from the Valkyrie mothership by a rescue shuttle. He was tired, bruised, but very much alive. Behind them stood Dr. Yoonji, Colonel Do-hyun, and representatives from every nation that had contributed to Earth's defense. Scientists, soldiers, diplomats, engineers, all the people who had worked together to save the planet. 24 hours ago, Yuna said into the microphone, we were told to surrender or die. They gave us 24 hours to submit to their empire. She paused, looking out at the crowd. We spent 18 of those hours laughing at them, making memes, cracking jokes. showing the universe that humans don't break under pressure. We get funnier. The crowd roared with appreciation. And in the other 6 hours, we did what humans have always done. We worked together. We shared our knowledge. We trusted each other across every border, every language, every old disagreement. We proved that when humanity unites, nothing in the universe can stop us. More cheering. This victory doesn't belong to any one country or any one person. It belongs to all of us. To the scientists who found the weakness,